politicians I mentioned earlier who have such key roles in what is happening in the UK Parliament. First we're going to hear from the SNP Defence spokesperson Brendan O'Hara, and then we'll hear from the Shadow Defence Secretary Nia Griffiths, and it really gives me great pleasure to introduce Brendan first.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Scottish National Party, I'm delighted to be here as the SNP Defence spokesperson. It's always been an issue which has been very close to the SNP. I remember many years ago, before conferences were attended by corporate groups, that going to the SNP conference through the 1980s were the only people who ever turned up to show solidarity with the Kurds. I'm delighted to reciprocate. It's a fantastic turnout tonight, and I congratulate the organisers on what they have done. I don't think the pressure has ever been greater, nor the profile of the Kurdish struggle higher within the United Kingdom than it currently is at the moment. And I think that goes down to an awful lot of hard work by an awful lot of dedicated people, and many of whom are with us here this evening. I think we can all agree that there is absolutely no prospect of a lasting or just peace without an answer and a solution to the Kurdish question. And that's something that we've got to keep the pressure on the United Kingdom government to ensure happens. That when peace arrives and all the war ends in Syria, that the Kurdish question has to be addressed. If it's not addressed and we don't find a solution, then we will repeat the mistakes we have made so many times again. I think that what we can do together, I think that together, sort of working collaboratively, I'm sure Nia would agree, that in this Parliament that we can raise the question, we can ask the government, we can hold the government to account, because what is happening in Syria, in Turkey, in Kurdistan cannot be allowed to continue as it currently is. We need a lasting, just and democratic solution. And if I can be of any assistance in making that happen, then I would regard it as one of the greatest moments of my political career. But certainly we couldn't do it alone, and we couldn't do it without the support of the group within Parliament and the community itself. So I congratulate you again on the turnout, I congratulate you again on organising such an event, and hopefully we can work together going forward and getting this just, lasting and democratic solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those words, Brendan. I'm just going to shake it up a little bit because Lord Hilton has to leave shortly, and we get the unexpected pleasure of hearing from somebody who is so dedicated to the Kurdish people, who has done so much. Now, I'm a new MP and I stand in awe of the work done by people like Lord Hilton in the House of Lords and right across civic society. So he's going to say a few words and then we'll hear from Lord Hilton.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been a friend of the Kurdish people ever since the terrible atrocity of Halabja way back in the 1980s. I've had the privilege of visiting Turkey, both Ankara, Istanbul and Eastern Turkey, on a good many different occasions since about 1994. Last year, I was able to get into the canton of Jazira in Rojava, and this year, with some colleagues, I was in Damascus and Aleppo. I'm just one isolated, independent member of the House of Lords, and I don't have a program to announce or any solutions to offer. But what I'm very much aware of is that many of the regional powers are interfering in Syria to a massive degree. And whilst that goes on, the prospect prospects for peace are not very good. But I think that you here in Britain and others who are simply longing for peace in whatever country they happen to be living should prepare for the maximum possible amount of dialogue to start as soon as fighting ceases. That's, I'm afraid, all I can offer you tonight.
Thank you very much, Lord Hilton. Nia, is it possible to make your way, or should I pass the mic up to you? Okay, Nia Griffiths is the Labour Shadow Defence spokesperson. And thank you very much.
I hope you can hear me both ends of the room all right. I'd just like to thank Natalie for setting things up today, very important. It's never easy to get everybody in the UK very aware of what's going on in many parts of the world. It's quite a difficult task I think we face. I myself was out in Turkey back in 2006, raising with the Home Affairs Minister the whole issue of human rights and treatment of minority groups. And this last weekend I've been in the National Policy Forum of the Labour Party, and the Kurdish question was raised by several people in the international discussions. And so I think it is rising up the agenda. But I do think it's absolutely vital that you give us as much information as you possibly can. I think so often we're bombarded by different sources of information, and we really do need to know what's happening on the ground. And the most important thing, I think, for us is to have that channel of communication so that we're fully appraised of exactly what's going on and where we think the next step should be, and what sort of things we can do that will be helpful to you. And so, as Brendan has said, very important that we here speak up, that we ask questions, and that we try to influence the actions of our government. But in order to do that, I do hope that you will continue to keep those really important channels of communication with us open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Nia. I think that's a really key message for Saleh to take back, is that only information can allow us to act, and sometimes what is represented in the media, which is presented to us as the realities, are not what's happening on the ground. We're going to move to the question and answers session now, and we're very privileged to be able to do that. But just before, I just want to say a couple of words myself about what the media messages that we receive here in the UK. We don't know particularly what's happening in Rojava because it doesn't suit the narrative of the UK media to tell that story. And that's why people like me, people like Simon, go out to areas like Rojava, why we went there in October last year. And really, for me to talk about an idea, an ideology, to listen to it as a concept is one thing, but to see it in action is something completely different. And what we saw in Rojava was that even within the most hard circumstances of war, of oppression, there is a glistening democracy in that part of the world, which is absolutely remarkable. I have here, it's very challenging to me because I haven't studied French since high school, but I got a copy of the social contract in Jazeera Canton when I visited there, and I've been working my way through it, and the ideas in there are things that in the UK are progressive ideals on gender equality, on social justice, on various issues. This is a real commitment. And I think that it is absolutely inspiring to us in the UK, but we don't hear enough about it. And so it's the job of everybody that comes from here, in this place, in this room, to go out and to talk to people about it, so that we actually do hear that there could be a solution to what's happening in Syria, and that solution is democracy. And that's why having you here is such a great privilege, because we owe you a great debt of gratitude for bringing this message to the UK Parliament, but also for actually actively acting on what is in this social contract in Syria. So I thank you. And I'll open the questions. This lady at the front.
Thank you. I'll use my mic. Thank you.
Yes, of course. If you could introduce yourselves, if you're from an organisation, that would be very helpful.
My name is Kurdish Hassan. I'm from Rudao TV. My question for Mr. Saleh Muslim. Turkey has issued an arrest warrant for you. What's your stance over this? And what have you gained in your visit to the UK? Do you think all issues in Kurdistan, the Kurdish politics party, it affected relation between Erbil and Qamishlo? And the other question for you, Ms. Natali. As a player that has been described as an effective player in the fight against ISIS, but Turkey issues an arrest warrant, which I mentioned, for their leader. So what would be your response? Why UK is silent? Even the co-leader of Hadaba party and some MPs arrested, but UK is silent. Why? Thanks.
I'll quickly take that question. I wasn't planning on answering any questions because I'm the chair. I don't want to particularly give you my opinion, but I think it goes back to the fact that there is relative silence in the media. A lot of what has come from Turkey, particularly, is media reports which have been tainted by the fact that there is not an independent media now in Turkey. Certainly when we were in Ahmed Diyarbakir, that was one of the main reasons that we were there, because accurate information was not reaching the UK of what was happening to areas like Sur and certain other areas across the southeast. And I think that that's key. That's one of the reasons. Also, I mean, I'm going to say what a lot of people are thinking. The EU did a deal with Turkey on the refugee crisis. It gives Turkey an enormous amount of power in the region, and that means that NATO partners like the UK have been relatively silent. And unfortunately, asking questions in Parliament, as many of my colleagues will find, that any context is taken away by the UK saying that Turkey has a right to protect its territorial integrity, and the focus is the PKK. And every time that question comes around, the UK government, like other governments, hide in cowardice behind blaming the PKK, even with the HDP. So it has been raised in Parliament, and I have a letter in with the Secretary of State, and I'm waiting for a response. I'll let you know if I get one, but I expect it to be more of the same. I won't say any more tonight, because it's not me you want to listen to. It's this gentleman, and then we'll take your questions.
Yes. Well, for the warrant arrest, already we have a statement that there is no cause, there is nothing in Turkey. It's just the Sultan's will is implemented everywhere, so I think nobody is recognizing them. And the accusation is not right, exactly, because we have nothing to do with what happened in Turkey. Is internal material. And this event which they are showing in February, we have nothing to do with it. For the relation between Qamishlo and Erbil, of course, we are very keen to have a good relation with all the parts of Kurdistan. We have no problem for that. We are, doing our best to have a good relations. And I would like to say The problem is not between Kamuşlu and Erbil. The problem is between Rojava and KDP, Kurdistan Democratic Party, which is because we have a good relationship with the people over there. They are our people, the Kurdish people in South Kurdistan. They are the same, and they have sympathy for Rojava. We have no problem for that. Other than that, we have a good relation with all parties. I mean, PUK, government, and the Islamist parties. We have a good relation with everybody, except KDP, which is different a little bit. Maybe why we don't know, but I am sure. I mean, we are waiting for efforts to have a good relation with them also, because also they are a faction of Kurdistan people, so we respect everybody. We don't want to interfere with the internal material for South Kurdistan. We don't want to interfere internal matters. But we would like to have a good relation with all parties, as we have with the HDP and the other parties in North Kurdistan and the parties of Iran. Already we are meeting, we are exchanging the views, so we have no problem at all. The only problem is not, even the source of the problems with the KDP is not from our side. The problem is here, it's from the other side. We will try our best even to make a good relation with them also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This gentleman here.
I was wondering, you were here last year and you were hoping that the Obama administration could... Can you hear me? Yes. You were here last year and remember that you were hoping the Obama administration will solve the conflict in Syria. But now, the incoming President Donald Trump has appointed Michael Flynn, who is advising the new president or the president-elect to get closer to Turkey, so that their interests are aligned in the region. And also there are talks about possible negotiation maybe with Russia, with Assad. That was before, was not even on the table, Assad in the picture. So now I'm wondering, how do you see the changing climate of international politics, especially with the new president coming in next January? Thanks.
Yeah, question.
Yes. Well, usually, I mean, the strategies for the big countries, big powers like United States and other countries, and even European Union, it wouldn't be changed by changing the president or one person. So I think the United States, especially, they have their firm strategy. At least, as we know, it starts from 2001 by this the attacks on New York. So the strategy of the United States wouldn't be so changed easily. Changing the president and Mr. Trump can't maybe be over. Maybe there will be some changes on the speed how to implement the strategy. Of course, I mean, their strategy is to, which they are announcing, it should be against all the extremists, including Daesh and the other supporters. And his staff, till now, as we understood till now, all of them they are very keen, I mean, to have this struggle continue against the extremism in the Middle East, including the Mr. Flynn, which is connected to Turkey, as you mentioned. Well, he considered himself, I mean, I have heard some words from him, he considered those, the Islamists are politics, ideology, is not religion, considered. So it's very extreme. So, well, if he has some relations with Turkey even, but it's not expanding establishing the Islamic caliphates or Islamic emirates. So they have some differences also. We don't know, but I think the strategy wouldn't be changed so easily. And on the ground, and everybody knows the most effective power of fighting against those brutals and extremism is the democratic Syrian forces, which is not only the Kurdish people, also the Arabs, the Syrians, all of them. It's the democratic Syrian forces. So anybody who wants really, genuinely, you want to fight against extremism, you should cooperate with these democratic Syrian forces. This is our belief, because when we are fighting against those extremists, we are defending our being, because they are targeting the Kurdish beings, and those, what happened, everybody knows, when they went to Nineveh. First of all, they destroyed the Syriac, arts, which left from 2,500 years, so they destroyed them. And they destroyed the church, and they went to Shanghai, destroyed all the easy things, because they are the roots of the people. The roots of Syriacs are in Nineveh, and the roots of the Kurdish people are in Shanghai. So by destroying that, they want to destroy all the nations, all the people, the roots. They want to take it from the roots, which is, I think, the humanity shouldn't accept it. So, because of that, we are defending ourselves. As Kurdish, as Syrians, and all these ancient people, in these areas, we are defending ourselves. So, because of that, this fighting and this struggle is very important for us. And I think it should be very important for Europe and the other countries also, because Baghdadi was talking about maybe invading Paris, invading maybe Vienna, or even here. It's a threat for everybody, this mentality. So I think it's a strategy, it should be, fighting this extremism, it should be a strategy for everybody. And on the ground, we are doing it very well, and the most succeeded coalition against them, it was between the Democratic Syrian Forces and the international coalition against Daesh. So we should continue, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. The gentleman over here. If you can shout loud enough.
I'm Jimmy Kusa. I don't belong to any organization. I'm a lawyer by profession. Mr. Muslim, I understand there has been an arrest warrant for you by the Turkish government. As a lawyer, I'm happy to defend you should that be met. My point is in relation to Syria, of course. This conflict, when it started under the name of democracy for the Syrian people. Now, democracy, human rights, they do not exist. They are covered for destruction of the nations and destruction of the nations. Hence, please do not be fooled by any democracy post-conflict, whenever it may be. This is not a civil war. This is a massacre of the Syrian nation. I repeat, massacre of the Syrian nations by the so-called Friends of Syria. Now, the question to you is this: if and when Syria becomes settled and the country is cantonized, and we still have the Kurdish part of it, how will you have access to the sea? Will it be from the east or from the west? If it is from the west, does that mean going through the port of Iskandar or going through Iraq? Thank you.
Well, I think defending the democracy and the human rights and the nations is not tied to the sea. It's not so important. And this is one. And secondly, we are talking about no voice. Yeah. Well. We have a project for ourselves. In Rojava, it's not only the Kurdish people. We have a project called Democratic Federalism for Syria. So, Democratic Federalism for Syria means Syria will stay as a state, as a part of it, And all the components of Syria, and all the diversities, they have their democratic rights, I mean, from cultural, political, and whatever it is. So they will have their rights. At that time, you don't need to have, I mean, already we have the existence to the sea in the Mediterranean, so I don't think we will need to go to the east, I mean, to have exist on the sea from other side. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman with the camera there, and then after we'll have this gentleman over here. Okay. Do you need it?
Dear President, sorry, I won't mention the President of the Kurdistan Party, sorry, apologize, let's see. My question is, I think we don't have a problem with the Syrian right now. We have got everything, but the problem is that Turkish fascist regime still continue to arresting our leaders. Most of our leaders still in jail. And the problem is only Turkey, you have to recognize that Turkey is still continuing against the humanity, against there are big terrorists in the area. And I will demand to you to ask the United Kingdom to change the policy of United Kingdom to against Turkish regime, to otherwise to must be they bring back the PKK in the street. PKK is not terrorist. PKK is the freedom fighters still in mountains. We have got nearly 100,000 our brothers and sisters, nearly 30 years in the mountains in cave. There are no anything
Sorry,
to have chance. Please.
I said at the beginning,
Yeah.
I appreciate your making a statement and you're very passionate about it, but we are here to listen to Mr. Muslim.
Okay.
Do you mind?
Yeah, I demand him, please, same as Mujahideen Khalq, they say we will remove the list in terrorist list, not to bring in Turkish state to terrorist list. Thank you very much. Zana Shirwani, the Kurdish leader. Thank you.
Sorry, was there a question at the end there?
The question is, I demand him just write a letter to United Kingdom, House of Commons and Parliament and Westminster to remove PKK in terrorist list.
I think you've made your point, so we'll move on to the next question, which was from this gentleman over here. Yes, sorry, the gentleman in the glasses. Yeah, yourself, sir. Sorry, do you mind if we pass over the microphone? I can't hear you. Sorry.
name is Ahmed Tawfiq Ali, the Task University practice linguistics, which are used for solidarity. And just for information quickly, includes a poem for Kobani and a scene from Mount Sinjar, which I've translated from Sorani Kurdish to English, and Pilgrims to the Rock and the Angels of Kobani, a prose which I've translated from Arabic. Just information that. My real question is about terminology. I am from Kurdistan of Iraq, not from south or north, particularly west. If you see an article just printed now in the Reith Lectures by international philosopher Anthony Paya, only last week, it tells you what West means. And it means, it's lost its geographical meaning, and it means